Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Nosacapital, coming to you on a rather warm afternoon from the Southern Hemisphere. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot has happened over time. We remember the flash crash, the uncertainty in the markets, and the uncertainty in the overall, geopolitical and geoeconomic situation across the entire planet. But, as we say, the show must go on. Hence, rough and ready crypto analysis will also keep going on until maybe AI takes everything over or the wheels fall off. One of the two. But anyway, let's get started. So we're going to be looking at the token unlocks at first. And upcoming unlocks, today we have a total of about 124.4 million. Tomorrow is 34.57. Oh, sorry, the 6th of December, I beg your pardon. Total upcoming unlock value is 34.57 million. On the 13th, you've got 139.07 million. On the 20th, 69.36 million. And on the 27th of December, we've got 24.74 million. Top 30 day top unlocks, we've got the Sui Foundation, 85.17 million. Hyper Liquid, 75.55 million. And of course, Ton, 57.17 million. Within the next 24 hours, we've got Celestia, Maverick, and of course, Solar Protocol. Post-unlock price impact, which, as we see here, you can see the total, the Series B, and everything, the general overall sentiment about that in terms of the post-unlock impacts. And let's see the recent ones. I mean, these things, like I've always said, when it comes to the unlocks, we have to be very careful. And we've got to look at them. And if your token that you support and you believe in gets affected by some of these unlocks, I strongly recommend that you pay attention. Maybe take a little bit of profits and then get back into the market if it falls. But you never know. Today's the seller here is in about 3 hours time. What's this? This is numbers. We've got Pike, Celestia, Again there, I keep seeing all the time, in all these unlocks. And so just be wary of the tokenomics of all these different tokens, because you find that many of the big guys are dumping on retail. So keep an eye out on that. I mean, yours truly, excuse me, yours truly has been a victim of this. So I know I learned that lesson the hard way. And so I've been very wary. And so I started to check it more regularly. And so this is what you have. Optimism is there, but that's another 28 days, almost a month from now. The bridge, Undo Finance in 47 days time. And so you just keep an eye out on all the unlocks, so that you are not caught off guard. Now, some are affected more than others. Some don't get affected at all. So just put that in mind when looking at your favorite token. Okay. So let's move on to the other statistics. The crypto market overview. Bitcoin standing at 91,728. Ethereum $3,038. BNB $866. Solana $137. Almost $138, and of course XRP has $2.19. Fear and greed index has crept up a bit. The extreme fear would have been a very good area to buy if you didn't buy anything. Overall crypto market currently at $3.1 trillion, a fall from about almost $3.8 trillion. At the beginning of the month, and currently fell all the way down to about 2.84 just a few days ago, about a week ago or so, or just over a week. And currently sitting at 2.99, going up to 3.02 trillion as of 4 days ago. So looks like we've got some overall improvement there. Before we look at the crypto net flow, we are looking at Bitcoin dominance at 58.8%, Ethereum 11.7%, and of course others at 29.5%. And that was going to lead us to looking at whether it's altcoin season or not. Altcoin season here, as you can see, is 24. So it's still Bitcoin. Anything between 0 and 25 is Bitcoin season. Bitcoin will have to have the index must be something like 76, above 76 to 100. That's for full altcoin season, which it isn't at the moment. But if it was or is, and Bitcoin is under 50%, then we're definitely in an altcoin season. Most significant cryptocurrencies index is about 193.02, and we now go on to the 30-day, 30-day crypto ETFs net flow. And as you can see on this chart here, it has been a net outflow. If you look at what's been going on, there's been more net outflows than inflows, and a very modest inflow at the moment at about 71.4 million for Bitcoin, 76.6 for Ethereum, and total, which totals about 148 billion. Is it 148 billion? $148 billion or something like that. $148 million, I beg your pardon. That has gone in recently. Beg your pardon. Apologies for that. Spot market. We've looked at that. Crypto market at the moment, 3.11 trillion. Remember we had, that's all time. Remember we had about 4 days ago, it was 3.02 trillion. Remember we looked at the other chart area. Let's see. Okay, and market share over the last 24 hours. So we've got spot volume at 3% on Coinbase, 3% on OKX, 3% on Crypto.com exchange, Bybit 5%, Binance 22.0%, and others 64%. Quick DEX volume as well. So let's see from the latest. We've got Curve at 0%, Uniswap 1%, Radium 2%, Uniswap 7%, PancakeSwap 34%, others 56%. So you can see what's been going on with that. Derivatives market, open interest. Now, this is something I don't really look at that much, but for those of you who trade options, you're going to be looking at your open interest market. And what we've got futures at about 4.43 billion, perpetuals $801.15 billion. Crypto market overall 22.96 trillion based on the 24th. This is the last one taken at 24th of November here. Now I do trade perpetuals, not as much as I would want to, but I do trade sometimes, but not all the time. And for those of you who trade that a lot more, I think this will be more of an interest to you. Very quickly, number of cryptos tracked, 27.72 million cryptos. I'm sure of which most are completely and utterly useless, of no significance whatsoever. And as of yesterday, SUI is at 0.15%. Cryptocurrencies by chain, I think. It's a number of cryptocurrencies based on the top chains, and Solana's got 64.04% of that, and that's just absolutely massive. Just almost unreal, almost ridiculous when you think about it. Bitcoin treasuries. That shows you all the different countries breakdown. 90.6% goes to the United States, Japan 2.9%, China 1.4%. What's this? I think it's that Canada with about 0.8%, and then the others 4.5% or so. We've got MicroStrategy still leads, followed by Mara Holdings, XXI, MetaPlanet, the Bitcoin Standard Treasury Company, bullish, Riot Platforms, and Strategy or MicroStrategy, as I still like to call them MicroStrategy. I don't know why but I suppose Michael Saylor can do anything he wants these days. 649,870 Bitcoin to a current value of about 59.62 billion. Mara comes in a distant second at 53,000, I beg your pardon, at 250 Bitcoin at about 4.88 billion. And coming in at third is XXI at 43,514 with a current value of $3.99 billion. So, Strategy. Now, there has been, I'm sure some of you have seen this, there's been this rumor about, and I think there's some element of truth to it, but I think there's been some confusion from what I've seen. I think it might mean that a video might be in the offing for this. People are saying that JP Morgan was trying to take out Strategy. Now, I'm not quite sure how true it is, and I know that it was some report from the CMA about looking at Bitcoin treasury companies or digital asset companies. I'm not quite sure which one, but those of you who know, please do comment. If you know a lot more about it, let the others read. And they were talking about those that have over 50%. 50% of their total, if it's in cryptocurrencies, that they should be removed from the CME index or something like that. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what's causing the problem. So there are those that have probably done a more in-depth study of this. I haven't. But if you do have something, please put in the comments. For those of you that know something, please clarify so that others can read, and possibly we can follow up and maybe even make a video about it. Okay, so BNB treasuries. Now, we can't really ignore these guys. US has 80.1%, China 19.9% of that. Total BNB supply held 0.6 million, only 0.4% of the supply here. And the largest holders, CEA Industries, 515,054 at 457.57 million. Nano Labs in China, 158,000 BNB holdings at 113.7 million. Okay, so I think Fear and Greed Index at 20. We've looked at the altcoin. And here is the one thing that I think we should look at is that the major market cycle indicators, none of them actually showed us the top compared with the past. Now, I think that, I remember when Bitcoin first hit about 73, I used the Pi cycle indicator to let me understand where the top was. And I made subsequent moves to avoid that top. I also used this one here. I think it was the Pew multiple, or I don't remember, but I remember that the Pi cycle was the one I really used. And I think I used the rainbow, but I'm not 100% sure anymore. I think it was the rainbow that I used. And I was able to get out of Bitcoin at about 73 at the time. But this time around, these are not working. I don't really understand to some extent. But on the other hand, one can easily argue that the market is not... This market is not, ladies and gentlemen, is not a retail market anymore. It's the institutional market, because they are the ones moving the markets based on the volume and the weight that they move around, far more than any retail holder could do. And the top cycle, the indicators here, you can see that nothing has been triggered. Nothing at all. So I think that some of these, we're going to have to look at things a bit differently, ladies and gentlemen, because these might not be reliable anymore, or as reliable as they were before. Like I said, it's now an institutional market. I mean, you got, apart from the Bitcoin treasuries, you've also got the digital asset treasuries as well, where people are moving into cryptos from fiat currency. So I think this is something we're going to have to watch. And maybe from all this activity, we're going to see something completely different. But we'll just have to wait and see. Bitcoin dominance, we've been through that. You've seen what's going on here. And let's just go down quickly to the ETFs. As I can see, as you've seen here, there's been more of an outflow this month than an inflow. Very modest inflows, a lot of outflows early in the month. And these are the largest iShares Bitcoin Trust. IBIT weighs in at the volume of 2.46 billion. Asset under management is 68.29 billion. Market cap 70.61 billion. Premium 0.09%. I think there's something again that those that don't understand, we should have a look at this and maybe discuss it. Fidelity comes in second. Grayscale Bitcoin third. iShares Ethereum fourth. Grayscale Bitcoin Mini fifth, and etc. As you can see. Oops. And then we've got Bitcoin ETFs. 71.40 million net inflows there. And again, more selling here than buying, more outflow than inflow. Total assets under management has fallen and just risen slightly at $122 billion. Assets under management as a percentage of market cap, 6.76%. So, and of course, you've seen this before. You've seen the companies that have the ETFs. Let's look at Ethereum. And again, we've got a positive of $76.6 million. That's net flow. So that's going to be net inflow than outflow. This over the last month. We've got 1, 2, 3. The last 5 days or so has been net inflow. Total assets under management fell, but it has risen to a modest $18 billion, and which represents 4.93% asset under management as a percentage of market cap. Excuse me. And there I think we can conclude there in terms of what we have. Okay, just have a quick look at the overview of the trusts. First one, iShares Ethereum Trust ETF. Assets under management 10.97 billion, market cap 11.03 billion. Grayscale Ethereum Trust coming in second, 109.79 million in volume, 3.46 billion in assets under management, with the market cap of 3.89 billion. And Fidelity Ethereum, 90.31 million in terms of volume and $1.3 billion assets under management, market cap of 1.26 billion. And as we can see, based on the sizes alone, that tells you that we are in we are strictly institutional market. And that's the relative strength index here. We're not going to bore ourselves with this too much. But we can see that at a glance, you can see that most of the activity is in the neutral zone, more than in overbought and oversold. Okay, so let's go on to the charts. And as always, we start with Binance. And you'll have to excuse the charts a minute because I've got I've got the volume profiles. This one here is the overall volume profile. I've also got our market, smart money on all the lines of usual the smart money concepts, We've got the smart money concept. We're going to see what smart money are doing, our areas of demand and supply, of course. And these bubbles here are the liquidity volume of what's being traded. So we can discuss a little bit more in depth. That's why they've got it on there. So please forgive if you find it a bit crowded. Please forgive me. You'll understand very quickly what I'm about to do when I explain. So as always, we start with our smart money. So we've got 2 areas of demand and 2 areas of supply. Quite thin. I think these areas, the price action could easily go through with enough volume momentum. Volume momentum down here is at the negative in recent times, but not too dramatic. I mean, look at it. It's not dramatic at all when you think about it. Looking at current price at $892.46, and it's playing on the major, as you can see here. Let's just hide this for a moment. And at this time, it's playing right on top of the, there's an area of demand here, as well as we've got the point of control there. And as you know, the point of control tells you that that's the most activity taking place. So there's been a lot of activity at the point of control here, here, and here. Now, there's a bit of selling volume, but 2 things that happened. One, as you can see, this is a buying area of demand. That's a buying area. And all that sales, this bubble here tells you that that's sales. The orange bubble represents sales, the green represents buys. And you can see that all that sales has been absorbed at that area, and the price has gone up, albeit modestly. To see, if we bring in this to see a lot more closer activity, you can see that there is some level of confluence, albeit a little, between the demand area of demand, point of control, and of course the value area low on this particular volume profile. So this all indicates that this price might go up, maybe back to the volume, to the point of control on this particular area, which is about 1,104. Now this is going to take a little while to get there because of a lack of volume momentum. However, as you can see, there has been an increase in volume momentum. Looking at that, that also means that the price might literally go up. Now we've got an area of supply here, but this is a bit too thin. I think that we can easily go through that area here. Also, finally, there's also some confluence to a certain extent with this volume area low, value area low, and this value area high on this particular area of volume profile. So I suspect that we're going to go back to about 1,000 and maybe move on to about 1,100, but time will tell, as long as we have enough volume momentum there. Okay, let's move to Bitcoin. A lot more activity going on here. Okay, again, volume momentum is on the low side, although if you can see, there's dramatic from here, which is on the 21st to today. You can see how there's been an increase in volume momentum, and you can barely see, if you look there, you can barely see the last few days. It fell all the way down to 80,000, as you can see, 8,524, and currently is selling at 91,797. Despite this being, you can see these big bubbles here, this is all sales. All that sales has been absorbed, and we've actually gone over the value area low on this particular volume profile, as we can see here. It also, I think the next port of call for Bitcoin will be here, 99,792. All that holds it will be enough, having enough volume momentum. Now, there's been some sales here, as you can see, there's a bit of sales here, but it looks like it's getting absorbed because the price is increasing. Ultimately, we could get back to 109. Why? Because that point of control from the main volume profile, with this volume profile here, there's a bit of confluence between these two here. Areas of supply, they've got 1, 2, 3. They're not too heavy to warrant the price not being able to get back to these highs. Now, so far, so good. We don't know. It may or may not happen. We're not 100% sure. But only time will tell as to if it happens. Now, one As you can see, there's a line here. I picked that line. It's at about 74,000. I actually thought that the price might fall all the way down to 74,000 before going back up. But we see that it got to about 80,000 and went up. Now, I did have something at about 83,000. It broke that. So I had an alert there. Yeah, I think I did it from about here. But yeah, you can see 82,999. So just about 83,000. But it broke that, and then it's subsequently gone back up. Again, looking at this area here, I think that there's some of the sales here is being absorbed into buying, but we shall wait and see. And again, the volume momentum shows you that. But let's see. I think first port of call will be 99,000 before we go over 100,000 once more. Okay, let's go to Ethereum. Now, I didn't trade this, but so I didn't have any particular targets for this, but we've got one area of demand here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's an overlap here, so this is quite strong up here of supply. Volume momentum here also has literally flattened out. The initial setting here, the confluence here is that the initial setting here has been absorbed, and I think it's because of this region here. This is a buying region. I think it's between 2,504 and 2,605. So I think that's helped, and that's gone back up. We've got some confluence here between this value area low here and as well as this one, which means that we're looking at about 3,117. Next port of call, as far as I'm concerned, the way I'm looking at things, if it's strong enough with this value area high here, as well as this point of control for this particular mini volume profile, is at about 3,924, which is quite a distance, but it's something we can look out for over time. I think the immediate area that we look at is at about 3,124, and if it breaks that, maybe we go on to about 3,005 and ultimately to 3,924, but that would depend. Now, some people believe that we might be in a bit of a bull trap. I'm not quite sure, because the on-chain activity, and that's something that we have to look at, indicates otherwise. Now, there's some new on-chain indicators that I think there'll be a video before the end of the week with some of these on-chain. So we're going to make something to, maybe a rough and ready on-chain or something. We'll do that, but we will have that video made. Okay, so let's go on to Solana. Solana has been topsy-turvy here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas here. 1 of demand, 4 areas of supply. Volume momentum to the downside is a bit higher than what we saw with Bitcoin and Ethereum. And Solana, upon all the activity on this particular platform, it's just a bit of a mess. We don't know why the price is just overall trading sideways, because if you switch over to the weekly, let's have a look at the weekly. Look at that. Look at that. Just not encouraging at all. Not encouraging whatsoever. We're up by 411.309 million, and then we're down by 140. It's just up, down. It's just really depressing. I think our bottom area here, where I don't think we're going to fall below anything below 98,000. I think that will be our, about 98,000 will be our bottom. $98. I didn't say 98,000. $98.46. My sincerest apologies, not 98,000. Will be the ultimate bottom, I don't think. And this area of demand is almost showing us that region there. We've got look at the bubbles. Look at them, very tiny bubbles. And then look at this. We've got some sales here, but it's being absorbed because we're going back to the upside. I think because of the confluence between this value area high and this value area low, and this particular volume profile here. So I think it's going to be strong at this area. But you can see that there is absorption here because it's going back. The price is going back up. I really think that for this particular situation, anything under 150 is quite good. Of course, if you can get it cheaper, you should. But I think if we move from here, look at the confluence. Look at that one. That's a point of control for this volume profile. That's another point of control for this volume profile. We've got this value area high here, and then we've got the value area low here, and the value area high. And look at all of them all here. So this area here, ladies and gentlemen, is quite strong. So we're looking at between 139 to about 148. So this area is very strong. Let's go down to, that's looking at it through the weekly, of course. If we go down to the, let's look at the 1 hour very quickly. And you can see, look at these areas here. Look how close they are. This volume profile here, value added low, value added, look at them. A point of control there, the value added, look at it. So yeah, we're looking at between 139 and about 148. So it's quite strong. Anything lower than about one, if you can get something as low as about 132 here, that's a good buy. And if you can get it lower, the better. I wasn't positioned. I would have loved to have bought something at 120 something, but I wasn't positioned there. I was looking at something else. Again, looking at our volume profile is very low, almost no volume activity taking place here. And maybe we might see something at about 141. We shall see. I think those of you perp traders, I think if you've got any comments for us on that, please help clarify. Okay, so we're looking at SUI. Let's go to SUI. Again, let's come down to the low here to $1.31. Volume profile not too good, and we've got no areas of demand, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas of supply. So a lot more selling. Now SUI has fallen down to about 155. The price is 155 at the moment. For those of you that bought at about 131, I wouldn't say it's the bottom, but if the price goes up here, it's come to this point of control here. If it comes back and holds, then that might be the new bottom. Anything under about $1.50 or $1.40 is a good buy. Of course, the cheaper you can get it, the better. Currently looking at this is the point of control here. I think our next port of call will be at about $1.71, and here at about $2.19. I think yeah, that means that gives us a chance. I think if we buy, we can do some accumulation now between about 130 and 150. If we can do that, that'd be very good. This area of supply here is too thin. Enough volume momentum will break through, and then ultimately we can break to the main volume profile value added low at about $2.46. And you can see there's confluence between that and that. So this is another strong area here where you can aim for if you are speculating. Okay, so Moodeng. For those of you who bought, as I've said before, a lot of patience. We did that here. If you remember earlier in the year, we called it and we got it. And I'm going to look here again, and I'm going to tell you that this is another area of accumulation. This very area low here, which is at about, let's see, it's about 6 cents. Well, a little bit higher than 6 cents, about 7 cents now. What's it now? Let's see. It's about 6 cents 909. We've got a very thin area of demand, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 areas of supply, and this here is massive. So this is going to take a lot of momentum to break through this area here, which is between, and that was, yeah, which is between 18 cents 64 to 24 cents 90. It's going to be massive. We need a lot of volume momentum, which we don't have. As you can see, it's just literally almost non-existent, just flat. A little bit of sales tried to take place here, as you can see. A little bit of buying activity right here, but it got absorbed. So the price stayed here at this point of control. There's not enough volume momentum here to actually break through to get us to about 10 cents 98, but only time will tell. I think that speculators buying in at about 7 cents to trade to about 10, 11 cents could make a quick profit in that area. But here, I don't think there's enough volume momentum to break. If it breaks here, I think ultimately we get to about 12 cents 16. And so those of you who are speculating, you have a good chance of doing something. Finally, we look at WIF. Hardly encouraging at the moment. A bit of sideways trading here. No area of demand. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas of supply. That's selling areas. With a little bit of extra volume momentum, I think we can break through from here, because there is, if you look at it, there is a lot of confluence here between this. If I do this, as you can see, we've got a lot of confluence with some point of controls from several of these lower, smaller volume profiles, and bringing them here. So I think the price could easily hit about 52 cents, maybe even go as high as 57 cents. Currently price is about 38 cents 40 or so. So a good opportunity. Buying, some selling was trying. Look at that area. It's a little bit large, but the selling got absorbed. So as you can see, and I think that's evidence from the volume profile, I mean the volume momentum here, because you can see that it's been increasing here gradually if you look at it from down here. So I think next part of call could be about 52 cents and maybe ultimately 57 cents. If you bought at a higher time, you're just gonna have to wait this one out for the altcoin season to return. And speculators, you do have a shot. I think even I might get in the act on this one if this remains as encouraging as we can see in this area. Okay, things in the markets are a bit strange. A lot of people, friends of mine and others, and many of you out there have been very discouraged about the markets, but I would tell you that they all have their phases. I mean, when we had the flash crash on October 10th, we thought the world would come to an end. It's recovered a lot of that. Not everything, of course, but it's recovered a lot of it. And I think that it will go back. Now, as long as there is, I think there's an on-chain metric called total market mean for Bitcoin, and I think that is at about $81,840. I'm sorry I don't have it open and I don't want to start scrambling for it, but please bear this in mind. If Bitcoin holds among the total market mean, then I think the market will kind of stabilize and will float around a little bit. There won't be any particular bull trap. And I think the market will gradually begin to recover. But over time, I don't think we're going to see full recovery until next year. But next year also, there's a danger that things could actually fall. But we shall see. We don't know. As promised, I will, as I said earlier, I will bring you an on-chain video maybe today and maybe tomorrow, or if not tomorrow, by Wednesday. I suggest you watch it in the fullest. I think you're going to enjoy watching that because it's going to be on-chain. It's not going to be purely charts. We might look at one or two charts, but this is going to be strictly on-chain charts and not the price action charts. Anyway, it's a weekend, so enjoy the rest of your weekend. So that's me. So as always, keep your eyes and ears open and your trading sharp. Have a good one. Bye.